So the other bucket that I have coming from them is going to be very, very cool.
Hey Tim, I want to welcome you and all of your Cotton Top 3 audience to AMI Attachments. We had talked earlier about your new bucket, and I asked if you thought your audience would appreciate a behind-the-scenes tour of how it's made. And so that's what this is. We're going to give that to you. I'm in the engineering department right now, and we're first going to take a look on screen of what that new bucket is, and then we're going to walk through the plant and go through all the stages of creating that bucket for you. So from laser cutting to machining to welding to paint and assembly and finally shipping it off to you. So let's take a look on this computer and we'll take a look and see what the bucket is that you're about to get. So this is the AMI Attachments JawBone bucket, and it's a 4-in-1 bucket for your mini excavator. How it works is it gives you a digging edge with digging teeth on a thumb that is operated by a helical actuator. When you open up that helical actuator, one, that gives you a thumb so you can pick and sort and grab things with it. Inside it is another reversible bolt-on cutting edge, which gives you a ditching and grading bucket to use as well. So now you can dig and ditch, same bucket, and it has the thumb function in there. The other cool thing about this is you don't need a thumb on your excavator anymore, which often is bulky and gets in the way when you don't need it. The JawBone bucket essentially makes that thumb invisible because you just close it and you now have a digging bucket. When you need it, open it up, grab what you need, close it, and you're good to go. It's a really, really versatile tool for somebody who is using it to do a lot of different jobs with one machine and one bucket. Let's head out to the floor and see the parts being cut out. We're about to enter the shop floor here. We're going to head over to the raw materials and take a look at the sheet plates of which all the parts come out of. Then we're going to head over to the laser cutter and see some of the parts of the JawBone that you're getting be cut. Put on my safety glasses and let's go. So this is where we store all the flat steel. And we've got all kinds of different stacks of types of steel. This right here is a Hardox 450 wear plate. It's really, really tough stuff. Then there's other piles of Strengths, which is the performance steel. Both of these types of steels are going to be in the JawBone bucket that you're getting. Let's head over to the cutting table and we'll take a look. So this is the laser cutter, and we already have a piece of Hardox 450 on the table. We're about to cut these parts. This is the map of what is going to be cut out of this sheet. Let's see if they're ready. So our pieces are cut, and Jake's just going to bring them over here. We'll take a look. Once all the parts are cut out of the flat steel, then the ones that need to get drilled and tapped head over to CNC, and others get formed. We're going to go through the forming of the shell and see how that's done as well. You can see that your bucket is now taking shape. So the heel and the shell have been formed, and Dave is just matching it with the side plate here of your bucket. So the luggings for your JawBone bucket just came off the laser table and were brought over to the CNC milling. Isaac here has just set up this program to be able to do the machining on your lugging. What's going to happen is the two radiuses where your pins fit in they're going to be machined so that there's a tight tolerance so that those machined radiuses fit exactly with your pin. The third thing that's going to happen here is they're going to drill a hole, and that's for your coupler. When it comes in, it needs a spot to lock. We're going to drill that hole, so that's where that's going to go. We got everything set up. We got our GoPro in place, so we're going to watch it do its work. All the parts are cut and machined, and we're deep inside the welding area here at AMI. Everything is laid out, ready to be fitted and welded together. Before Abe gets into that, let's take a look at all the pieces. Set out on Abe's welding table are the main pieces of the entire bucket. We've got the shell, and we've got the side plates here. The sides are going to be made up of 3 separate components. And we've got the Hardox serrated cutting edge here for the side. This is where the helical actuator is going to go. And then we actually have just the sidewall and an extra wear bar that goes on here. We're going to put those together and then stick them on the sides of this shell. That's going to form the frame of your bucket. The other things we have here, we have some wear bars. So those get put on the heel of the bucket down here. And of course your lugs. Over on our cart are all the other components that go into making the JawBone. The digging teeth, of course, we got the teeth and the adapters. We have a couple of the cutting edges here. So one, these are going to be welded onto, and the other one will be for your grading edge. We've got these gears, and that's what's going to drive the jaw itself. These are going to be attached to the jaw, and those teeth are going to be working with the helical actuator. This is really where the magic happens in here. Instead of any kind of hydraulic cylinders on your bucket, everything is happening in here. And it's a series of splines that are working together that turn the outer edges of this, and that's how your JawBone is going to open and close. Abe's going to fit it all together and then start welding. We're going to check back in once it's ready to go. Tim, your JawBone bucket is really looking complete now. It's definitely taking shape, and you can see it. Most of the fitting has been completed on the main piece, and we're just finishing up on the jaw. But you can see the lugging is now in place, and there's a placeholder bar just temporarily welded there, and that just prevents any movement during welding in case there's warping. There's a manifold in here added on there, and that's going to have your hoses, your hydraulic hose fittings are going to go into here to feed the helical actuator. On the jaw itself, we have Hardox on the sides and a really thick base edge that these teeth are going to get welded to. We're going to take the adapters, fit them on there, space them perfectly, and then the teeth go on and you're good to go. There's one more piece in here, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's another serration on the inside. And that again is just for when you're in that clamping using your thumb, it gives you extra grip for pinching against the bolt-on cutting edge. So it's almost ready to go. We have to do all the welding, and once that's done, we'll take it into paint and final assembly. You can see that everything is now together. Our digging teeth are mounted to the jaw. The jaw is now completely welded to the helical actuator that's nested in the crossbar. One of the things that's important for when we're setting this up is that we take the helical actuator and we rotate it into the fully closed position, and then we back it off just a touch before we weld this in place. What that does is it ensures that the jaw itself is closed against the cutting edge of the bucket without bottoming out the helical actuator. And that way your splines inside here never are actually pushing at the end of their stroke. They have a little bit of play there, which allows it to be in a safe position even if you've got this thing closed. We've got it hooked up to hydraulic hoses and a portable power pack. So we're going to open this thing for you and test it out. Here we go. Now when you have this hooked up onto your mini excavator, you're going to have a whole lot more flow than what our power pack does. So you're going to be able to open and close this the same rate and speed as your thumb. There we go. We've got the full range of the jaw fully open. You've got quite a bit of gripping range there for you to pick up stones or rocks or logs or whatever it is you want. Tim, the JawBone bucket is pretty close to being finished now. Next thing is to make it look good. And that means we need a nice paint job on it. Before we get to the paint though, we have to make sure it's clean. And that requires a thorough wash. We're in the wash bay here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a chemical soak with some strong soap. And that's gonna eat up any of this hydraulic fluid, any of the films, any kind of the dirt that has collected throughout the welding process. So we're gonna do that, and then Isaac is going to use a high pressure hose and just blow off any of the remaining particles. Make sure that it's completely clean. We'll let it drip dry for a bit, blow it off with an air hose, and then it's ready for paint. And we'll roll it out into the paint booth. So we'll let Isaac do his work and see what it looks like when he's done. Well, the JawBone bucket has now been cleaned, washed, and is dry, ready for paint. We're standing in front of the paint booth, and we've got Jason and Henry running the booth today. They've prepped this for paint by covering up anything that is not supposed to be painted. So on this, we've got some hoses and some fittings that we need protected. So that's all ready to go. The paint is going to be a two-step process. The first is going to be a white primer coat where they're going to apply that to the whole bucket first. Once that dries, then the top coat gets applied. And for you, Tim, it's going to be another Kubota orange bucket. The one thing I forgot to show you was on the base plate of the grading edge is the bolt-on cutting edge. That's now been installed. So it is ready to go. The paint is now dry on your JawBone bucket, Tim, and it's a glistening Kubota orange. The last step of this is a final assembly. So Abram here brought it out the paint booth the other end into the assembly bay. He's going to install the hydraulic hoses and fittings to run the JawBone, do a few final paint pieces, put some decals and stickers on it, and it's going to be ready to ship. We'll stick it on a crate, band it up, put it in a truck, and it'll be headed to you. So we'll give Abe the time to do this and check back in on him. Abram just finished this bucket, so it's 100% ready to go to ship to you, Tim. It's bright orange. All the hydraulic hoses are now installed, so the helical actuator works. And Abram brought it over to the test pump and ran it. It works, so it's good to go. The last things he did was put on some decals. And so we have some hydraulic decals, but we also have my inner strengths and the Hardox in my body decal on there. And one thing you'll notice is those decals have serial numbers on them. And that's because those decals are tracked and there's a record kept regarding your bucket specifically and all buckets with those decals on it. And that's because there's a special certification to be able to use those steels in the product. The Hardox is in the jaw. Anything with a high wear property, that's where the Hardox plate is. And in the lugging, where you need strength, but you don't necessarily need the weight, my inner strengths is used there. So this lugging is all strength steel, and then the JawBone and anything that wears is Hardox. So those decals indicate that that steel is actually in there, and you're getting what you're paying for. Last thing is a 2-year warranty. Everything about an AMI bucket is always covered under 2-year warranty. And the AMI logo on the side, he painted that gray. So it's pretty much ready to go. There was one thing that was still missing. And that's one last decal here. Tim, we want to say thank you for your confidence in AMI attachments. We want to say thank you for the opportunity to sharing the process of how a bucket is made here at AMI, and how much you've appreciated your tilt bucket already and working with us. And so we put that little decal on there to make this yours, and we'll have something else that you can take a look at as a big thank you to you. All right, let's band this thing up, put it on a truck, and get it out to you.
So a huge thanks to AMI and Jeff up there for putting that video together and getting it to me. I mean, how cool is that? If you're a metal nut in the fabrication and stuff like that, and of course I do a lot of that stuff, and you know, my videos, film it down there in my shop, and it was kind of amazed me as I was watching the video. It's no different than the way that I do it. You get the metal and you know, you cut it out, and you start tacking it together, and you get it all, and then you weld it out, and then you paint it. The only difference between what I do and what they do is it's just a whole lot more scientific, and computers involved and high-tech machines and stuff like that, where I'm sitting there, you know, fitting and doing and, you know, and this, that, and the other. But very, very cool. And I'm really glad that Jeff explain the metals too, the Hardox and the strengths metals, and where they're at in the buckets, because even I don't know like the ins and outs of that stuff like that right there. And very, very cool. Hardox, you know, you hear of AR 400 and AR 500. Hardox is kind of like a level on up above that is what it is. But top quality work, and those guys are a joy to deal with up there too. I am not kidding you. I'm affiliated with several companies that are based in Canada, and I mean, they got it going on. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, buts about it. And they produce just some kind of product. I mean, just above top shelf. So I really like that. As we got working through this process and everything, and I had mentioned to Ian about wanting to get the bucket autographed by everybody in the factory. Then Jeff says, he said, let's get on the phone one day. So I got on the phone with Jeff one day, and he said, because I had talked to him, we had talked about putting together, you know, just getting me some clips of the video. And so Jeff says, hey, look, why don't we work a video up just to start to finish, from the computer out the door? And I was sitting over, I was like, dude, that'll really be cool if y'all will do that. And so we talked a bunch of different times, and he said we're gonna try to do it. I think, you know, 5-6 minutes. He said, what do you think? I said, I don't care how long it is. I said, it don't matter to me. I said, if it's longer, it's better. So he got a hold of me last week, and he said, Tim, he said, this video is like 18 minutes long. He said, man, he said, we've cut it down. He said, is that too long? I said, no. I said, that's not too long. I said, that'll be perfect. I said, it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. So what he sent me is what y'all are seeing. I didn't edit nothing on it. They put it all together and got it done. And I think it's important, like I said in one of my previous videos about the bucket, it is so important for people to see what goes into these things. And what's incredible is AMI was willing to allow the camera in there. A lot of these places, they may let a camera in, but the videos are going to be chopped up pretty bad, because they're going to go through and review them, and they're going to have, because some of that stuff's very proprietary, and they don't want, quote, their secrets getting out. But I'm gonna tell you, Jeff, I mean, they pretty well had free reins up there and all that. But just super cool. Let down below, tell me your thoughts about the video and what you thought about it, and getting to watch and see everything, and the bucket kind of transformed from just a flat plate of steel to getting it formed and bent, and the pieces look like a puzzle laying there on the table. And then a true craftsman sitting there putting that thing together. I mean, that's what made me feel good, is seeing that guy sitting there. He's sitting there putting that metal up there, you know, and then tacking it, like I said earlier, just like I do. So again, I appreciate AMI. That will not be the last AMI product that you see that I end up getting. There'll be more. You'll see more. And so I'm setting myself up for the future is what I'm doing. So hope y'all all have a great Saturday. Appreciate all y'all watching. We'll catch y'all later. Later, taters.